Hello fellow humans and welcome to this week's shop review where we have maybe some good bundles and also, well, this vehicle, but more on that later. This week the resources include credits again, so I recommend not purchasing the rotation that includes credits. In the tank section we have a complete meme that can be sold for 1,000 gold, the AC-1 Sentinel. It also includes 7 days of premium, this weird camouflage and 25 gold boosters, but to be honest, isn't really that great of a deal. But if you sell the vehicle for 1,000 gold, it sort of comes out okay. So don't buy it for the tank, but then again, this vehicle is quite phallic in nature anyway. Then we have the TL7 120 at 20,000 gold. It might make sense if this were a tier 10, but it isn't. It's a tier 9 that also includes mystery boxes, a octopus avatar, and a weird eyes camouflage that makes anyone have nightmares, so don't let your kids see this. And if you're a child, don't look at it. And definitely for 20k, that is too much for this vehicle. Then we have the Mighty Partners. These go to T45, which was given away for free at one point, and the E75 TS, which was also given away for free at one point in 2020, I believe. Not really a great deal. I mean, the E75 TS is a very solid vehicle, and the Skoda T45 is a tier 7, so don't really buy those. Not really a great deal for most of the tier 7s, but so if you're collecting vehicles, it can make sense, but other than that, absolutely stay away from it. Same with this here. 17.5, just too much. For 12, we can talk about it, but 17.5, absolutely not. Then the Leo, or also known as the Sphere, which they also sort of gave away for free in an event, so have fun paying 3,500 gold for a tier 7 that you already played. This bundle isn't about the vehicle, because here you have a Sphere that you can sell for 2,500 gold, which means for 1,000 gold, you get 10 unlocked times 5 boosters, you get 500,000 credits, and 14 days of premium. So that's a pretty good deal, given that 500,000 credits alone in conversion are already over 1,000 gold. So while from a tank perspective this isn't a good deal, selling the Sphere will get you a very good deal here. So I do recommend picking up this thing quite a lot, because you're not losing anything essentially. However, speaking of losing, the 5A is not recommended. It has 50 times 5, which is incredibly large amount, and you can get a lot of free XP with that, but I don't really generally recommend this vehicle at all, especially 25k. Nope. And also 20k for the vehicle itself, absolutely not worth it. But those times 5s, 50 of them, is a great thing to start with. Could lower the price a bit. Other than that, perfectly fine. So T23, already talked about this last week. It's pretty difficult to play. It costs a bit too much, sort of, because again, you can't sell this vehicle for gold, which would make this bundle just incredibly great. And these times 5s are also locked to the vehicle, which means that overall not that great. Get the Sphere instead, because there you actually get a great return. Here you just get a very difficult to play tier 7 that is a challenge if you're a advanced player, but that's about it. And then we have the AMX CDC, a B-Spec WZ120 1GFT, and a vehicle so bad it has no armor and is one of the biggest tier 8 medium tanks in the game. So highly recommend not to pick up this bundle and wait for something better instead. And new in the shop, but obviously in crates, the KPZ07RH, a new vehicle. Now obviously it's in crates. Don't buy crates, don't buy this vehicle. It's not worth it. It will never be worth it if it's in crates. However, I will have a look at this vehicle in detail if the tank is at least good, given that the offer is absolutely horrible. And the same reminder as every week, open your free containers, because they can include very useful things, but at all costs stay away from any type of paid containers. In other news, as always, battle passes are still somewhat worth it, even though they have been downgraded quite a bit, but they're still a pretty solid deal overall. If you play a lot, and if you, for example, get all the vaults filled, then these can be a very good deal to pick up. Now then, there's also Season 2, which includes new vehicles that, again, the Tier 9 you can't get without paying, and the Tier 7 being comically irrelevant because it's a T20. And then there are also the draws for the Vindicator and the Predator, and all I can tell you about those is stay the hell away from them. If you care about this kind of thing, put it in the comments. Otherwise, I'm just going to not include this in future shop reviews. But anyway, the Blitz Stellar Cup is going to be happening from the 9th October till the 18th of November with the prize pool for each region of 50k, which is quite impressive, but then again, it ends up at a nice vacation rather than a professional job. All the information are in this article, and you probably will have to again go to 25 different YouTubers to find any of the matches besides the finals, which is always amazing. And there are quite a lot of rewards as well for this tournament, like gold, like free XP, and also the KPZ 50, which the tournament players already have, which is also quite impressive. And you can even get a pro player avatar, even though the definition of professional doesn't apply. 50k prize pool. If you're a touch player, you can participate. If you're a PC player like me, ignore it. And now it's time for the KPZ 07 RH, a vehicle that isn't worth it. But let's have a look at the tank instead. 2.6 DPM, 218 pen, very nice. Good accuracy, 10 degrees of gun depression, good mobility. Not really much armor that's compared to the Pershing. Obviously, it is slightly better than the Pershing, and that's already nice. Now, it doesn't quite have the turret armor, because even though the Pershing on paper has less, the Pershing has a very good gun mantlet, whereas this vehicle doesn't have that. But so essentially what you have is 200 millimeters at the front of the turret. So there is a lot of vehicles that are going to pen straight through this vehicle. So essentially expect not to be able to deflect a lot of shells if you are, let's say, incompetent enough to actually buy crates for this vehicle, because it's a tier 8 medium tank that is pretty solid right here. Essentially, this is one of those vehicles that, put it in the shop for 6-7k gold, I'll give it a recommendation. But obviously, given that it is now in crates, as it is with every new release vehicle, because Wargaming knows that that is how you can milk the whales the most effective, it is, well, not going to be a recommendation. It will never, ever be a recommendation with any new vehicle. That it is quite the tragedy that it just keeps repeating itself every single time. There's a new tank. It's going to be in crates. Tank's okay-ish, but obviously it costs over 100 euros to actually obtain it, so it's never going to be worth it. And it is quite a tragedy that keeps repeating itself every single time and every single tank release. But obviously, Wargaming doesn't care about you. They care about the profit. So in that regard, they're having a great time. So as always, don't buy this vehicle. Ignore it. It's a solid vehicle if it were in the shop for a reasonable price, but that's not what the case here is. So just stay away from it at any time. To be fair, would it be worth it? Outside of that, well, the Centurion 5.1 and the Chimera are still better options, so it would be a nice, decent collector vehicle that you can pick up and play, but obviously it's something that you have to have. So in that regard, don't buy the crates. If it comes back in the shop for 6-7k gold, we're going to talk about it. I'm probably going to recommend it at that point. But for what it is now, it is an absolute fraud. Not quite as much as the HWK30, but still bad.